Hello young grasshoppers, Shady Wags here, and today Professor Wags is going to teach you the art of hooking and unhooking. And to understand one, we have to understand the other. So first we're going to go over hooking. Not that type of hooking, that's for another video. Can we please roll the Dead by Daylight footage? There we go, yes, this type of hook. When you're a killer, hooking a survivor is not the hard part. The most important part is what you do afterwards. And there are 4 things you can do after you hook a survivor. The first is just leave them unattended and move on to locating your next victim. This is what we call the Hitch and Ditch. This is the killer that every survivor loves, especially the one that's up on the hook. Now, if the killer that did the Hitch and Ditch is a trap or a hag, they may leave traps behind as a parting gift for the survivors. The next type of tactic is a defensive maneuver called the patrol. That's when you place the survivor on the hook, then proceed to patrol the surrounding area, never straying too far from the hook, with the intent to weed out other survivors and to break up attempts to rescue the hook survivor. And the last one is the one that every survivor hates, the camper. This is the guy that'll put the survivor on a hook, then stands close to the hook, watching like a hawk, ready to strike down even the slightest attempt at a rescue. They may even hit the survivor while they're on the hook, adding insult to injury. There are 2 forms of camping. The front camper, this is someone who stands directly in front of the hook or at a distance in front or to the side of the hook. And lastly, we have the back camper. This is a killer who stands directly in back or directly beside the hook. Now, out of all these methods, there's not one that is 100% foolproof from stopping a rescue, but one of them has the highest percentage chance to sacrifice the person that is on that hook, and that is the back camper. And you're going to see why this has the best success rate. Now, to understand why it does, we need to go over the art of unhooking. Again, I'm not sure how these got mixed in here. Can we move on? Thank you. First, I want to stress when someone gets hooked for the first time, immediately make your way to unhook them. I see this way too often. A person gets hooked and their teammates take their leisure time making their way to rescue them. You want to free that person as quick as possible if it's the first time they're on the hook, because every second they spend on that hook is 1 second less they'll be able to spend on the hook if they get caught and hooked again. And if they're on the hook for the first time and they reach that struggle portion, but you save them while they're struggling, well, the next time they're hooked, it will be an immediate death. When you go to save someone, it should just not be about points. Yes, saving someone from the hook is a good way to score points, but it should also be your priority to rescue them and give them the best chance to escape. Let's go through each situation here. In a hitch and ditch, this is the easiest rescue because the killer is gone. The person on the hook should relay any info such as what direction the killer went in, if it's a trapper, if he put down traps, if it's a hag, did she put down hexes? And if it is a hag and she put down hexes, the person should crouch to the hook to prevent setting off the traps, and once the person is off the hook, both of you should crouch and walk away. If the killer is a front camper or a front patroller, you can almost always save this person successfully. You are going to have to be prepared to take a hit, so in order to pull off the rescue, you need to be at full health. You have to look at it in this manner. You have 2 hit points, and the person on the hook has 1. It's your goal to get the person off the hook, you take the hit, and both of you escape. So if the killer is a front camper or a patroller, despite where they're at, you're going to run to the front of the hook, unhook the person, take the hit, and while the killer recovers from the successful hit, you're both going to attempt to escape. The worst thing that could happen is instead of hitting you, they grab you, but from my experiences, the grab is somewhat unreliable. Now, if you're close enough to see or hear what the killer is doing prior to the rescue, you may not want to immediately run in. You may want to see what they're doing. If the killer is hitting the person, wait till they hit them, then after the hit, immediately move in. If the killer is a wraith, wait for them to cloak, then immediately move in. And if the killer is a trapper or a hag, wait to see if they're setting traps. If they are, as soon as they bend down to set the trap, run in for the rescue. And what will make the situation even easier is if you have a third person running interference. That person could be trying to draw the killer off or using a flashlight, or after you take the person off the hook, that third person could try to block the killer taking the hit that would be meant for either you or the other person. The only time this will not work is if the killer is a hillbilly and he does a chainsaw charge, or if the killer has the Hex Devour Hope up and has already hooked 3 people, because one hit will knock you down into the dying state. The only way to rescue the person and guarantee your own safety as well is if you have on the perk Borrowed Time. With Borrowed Time, once per match during a hook rescue, you and the person being rescued are protected from a hit that would put either of you into the dying state. Instead, whomever takes that hit will get a bleed out timer for 30 seconds. If they're not healed within the 30 seconds, then they will go into the dying state. So for example, if you run into and hook someone, the killer is a hillbilly, and he chainsaw charges and hits you, you're going to go into that bleed out state, giving you both time to escape. Without Borrowed Time, you would have been immediately knocked down into the dying state. Okay, and for the last scenario, we have the back camper. The back camper has the highest percentage chance to sacrifice the person he has on the hook. And the reason is, he's going to stand beside or behind the hook with his aim right on that person on the hook. He's not going to chase the other survivors. He's not going to move from that spot. He will let you run up and take the person off the hook. And as soon as that person's feet hit the ground, he will swing, hitting the person and putting them back into the dying state. He'll then pick them up and place them back on the hook and move right back into position again. You almost never will save this person. The only way to save them is if you have Borrowed Time, because in this instance, he will hit them and they will go into that bleed out timer, and then they'll have a chance to escape. But without Borrowed Time, your chances of saving this person is slim. Your only other option to save them without Borrowed Time is to flashlight blind the killer, then go in for the rescue. If there's more than one person trying to attempt the rescue, the other people also could try to move in between the killer and the person on the hook before they hit the ground, so they take the hit instead. But this takes precise timing. If someone is a back camper and you don't have Borrowed Time, then leave the person and go work on a generator or look for the hatch. So if you're a killer and you don't mind camping, being a back camper has the highest chance to break up any rescue attempt and get that sacrifice. But be prepared for higher level groups to punish you for this. Totally give up on the rescue and have all 5 generators up before you sacrifice that first person. And if you're a survivor, one of the best perks in the game is Borrowed Time. This is basically a free hook rescue per trial. It is one of the perks I always have equipped. So I hope you guys found this information useful. If you did, really would appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, later.